Hey guys, what's up? This is Christian here, and if you're still with me, then you're at least here for the reviews of all of the DLCs that are currently out for Borderlands, not including any DLCs that come out after these videos, and there will be reviews of those when they come out later. And we're going to start with the first DLC, because, I should have played this one a long time ago, but we made a deal to play them all at once. We're bad. Anyways, we're talking about Moxxi's Heist of the Handsome Jackpot. So, basically, to start off with, this DLC was released December 19th, 2019, and funny enough, I love that that was released on my mother's birthday, but still, this was probably the first DLC that everyone was kind of wondering, okay, was they're going to shoot out because they fucking screwed up the story, and it's an iffy one on this one. It's very difficult for them to get out of the problem that they had with the DLC or with the original game was because, the story sucked. And other than that, the game was fun, but the story is what always bogs it down. So with these DLCs, they had a lot riding on them to basically fill in the gap of, okay, well, the story sucked, so at least give us some other unique stories. And truthfully, this one I like because it gives you more of something that everyone hated. In the base game, Moxxi doesn't do much. So for her to kind of have another dedicated DLC, I'm fine with that because that's the thing. Moxxi in almost every game has had a dedicated DLC, and you know what? I'm fine with that. I actually think that Moxxi deserves a lot of love for her character, and I think that she's also a very good character. And basically, here is the plot of the whole DLC. Moxxi and Jack used to date. When Moxxi and Jack broke up, Moxxi always told him that she wanted to have a casino. So what does Jack do? Be the dick he is, build his own casino. Now that Jack is dead, Moxxi wants his casino. The only problem, there are still people on the casino, even though, Jack's been dead for 7 years. Still questioning that part. And that's when you find out there's a lot more to this casino than a lot of people are led on to believe. And that's why the Vault Hunter is now going there to not only clear the people, but also, save everybody. There is one tiny critique I have to make. Your character has to go into debt to go into the DLC. Basically, you have to, I think, do something, and Jack will basically state you owe debt to him, and that's how you're stuck on the planet. I think it is stupid. You can also leave the planet, but, that's just a tiny detail I would have added as you couldn't leave the DLC until you're done, but I kind of understand that's harder to deal with because, the DLC is what the DLC is. Even still, I think that this is probably the funniest DLC they added to start with. I think this is a good DLC to start with because a lot of the first DLCs in Borderlands are supposed to be that. I mean, from the first game with the zombie DLC and then with the second game with Captain Scarlet, the first DLC is supposed to not only show you this is what we're working on, but here's some uniqueness to the story. Let's go. And let's go they did because, the first thing they address is we have a returning character. This is one character that everyone was wondering where the fuck he was at because the only hint of where he was at was in posters stating that he was part of a music career, or not a music career, a show career, which brought up the question of how the hell he got on this planet, which is basically Timothy, or the doppelganger, if you know him from Borderlands, the pre-sequel. I actually like that pre-sequel is getting a lot more love with this because that's the downside about pre-sequel with how much that game has a bad reputation attached to it. It's good that the DLC gets more love, or the game gets more love with characters. I mean, especially with one of them getting axed. Sorry, Aurelia. Anyways, I like the fact that Timothy returned here. It kind of was similar to the return that me and SK came up with in our head, which is basically, don't shoot. And, that's what it was. Basically, Timothy was assumed to be Jack, and he's not Jack. He's, well, sort of Jack. It's confusing, basically. But even still, I like the fact that Timothy came back, and by far, I'm glad he's back. It created the one problem that a lot of people had. They missed Jack. So here's your way of, here's Jack back, but we're not making him the villain. He's your friend this time. So instead of, we're trying to kill Jack because, the villain sucked in this game. No, in this case now, Jack is on our side, and now we're trying to kill this new villain named Pretty Boy, who is honestly a forgettable villain. The reason that he's enjoyable is because he thinks he's such a big shot, but by the time you meet him, he is nothing. Even still, they did introduce some other characters that I liked. I think were kind of quirky, but there's some unnecessariness to some of them. The first one is Ember. As cute as the character is when it comes to the gimmick of she loves fire, she was so unnecessary in my opinion. I think that truthfully, they could have probably still used the character and probably had all the flame and the French and all the fun, but in truth, she was kind of a really unnecessary character. She was just there just to be there, and fuck it. If you're going to put a character like that in, fine. That's a Borderlands character. I think that makes sense. The character we all fucking hate is Freddy. Freddy was way too outrageous. Even his clothes are 100% proof. But even still, you could 100% read something on Freddy. He gonna fucking turn on us. Because Freddy is stuck in the 80s. And in the 80s, you go back. So fuck you. But in truth, if I'm being honest about Freddy's character, I liked his character because at least he portrayed what he was supposed to be portraying. He was a mech nut. He could basically build machinery. But at the same time, he was also an 80s fashionista. He might, I think, yeah, basically he was that. So they got the character right. We all hate the character. And then the last one is the mayor. The mayor of Trashlantis. Kind of forgettable because Trashlantis, as fun as it is, kind of was a little underwhelming, sort of. Other than that, there are two things I want to address that I like about this game that it does have, or this DLC has. The first thing is that I like that it had a Ocean 11 reference. If you don't know what that is, in Ocean's 11, the whole game, or the whole gang, is basically plotting out what they're going to do. While this is happening, it will flash forward to you doing that activity and then flashing back to you guys still doing or talking about it. The reason I like that is because it's a really cheeky reference. Hell, that's why Oceans has as many fucking franchises as it does. It was such a cute, funny idea that Oceans does that Borderlands really, really had fun with it. And you know what? I liked it. I actually think that that was a really cheeky thing. The other thing, this is just one I want to mention because I loved one of the side missions. I actually got a really good laugh from it, and me and SK, he didn't understand it. I did. I knew what it was. I love the SpongeBob reference in this DLC. If you don't know what it is, I believe it's in Trashlantis. It's one of the robots. If you don't know what the reference is, I'm sorry that you did not have a fun childhood. Other than that, I feel so bad for that robot. Even still. Other than that, I think that the bigger thing that also I kind of liked is that robots came back. Truthfully, after dealing with them in Borderlands 2 and getting sick of them, I kind of missed them. But I think I kind of missed them in the concept of they just weren't there in Borderlands 3. We had too many, I want to say raider enemies, but basically human enemies, which I don't know. I felt like that was bizarre. I thought maybe we'd have a mix, but no, we really didn't have that many robots. The only time really robots showed up was when we went to, I forgot the name of the city, but basically where Reese is from. When we went there, that was mostly the only time we fought robots. Other than that, this is basically the first time loader bots are back, and cool. I'm glad loader bots are back. I missed them. So, other than that, if I'm being honest, the best qualities of this DLC were the story itself, because we got a progression of Moxxi, we got a progression of Timothy, and we got a progression of Jack as well, because we got to see the end of Jack's story. But the other thing we also got that I love from this DLC is that we had a lot of fun missions. There are missions that we could see where characters are trying to gamble or trying to do things, and you're helping or hurting or stopping. Those shit was funny. I also believe this is the DLC that has the Torg hot sauce. That shit was funny. I loved it. I don't care. And I loved the fact that Escape challenged me to punch every single one. Try punching all of the fucking hot sauce. Some of it was difficult, okay? Give me a break. The last thing I want to mention is that, now, late game, this doesn't mean much. Early game, because you can start this DLC at level 15, it's a good DLC if you need money. Because money isn't really something Borderlands has a problem with, but it's a DLC that really gives you a lot of money. So if you're, trying to buy weapons or trying to get armor or not armor, gear, or even if you're just trying to respec and you start running low on money, just go there. Fuck it. They drop a fuck ton of money. I think we had almost a shit ton of money thanks to this DLC. And so that's one of the things. The biggest things I kind of hated, I just hated the bosses. Best way I can describe it, Pretty Boy, he really didn't live up to how threatening he was supposed to be. And if I'm kind of honest, Freddy was also fucking irritating. But, he was made to be irritating. But that's mostly my biggest gripes with the DLC. I think that this was probably I want to say it was the best DLC they released so far, but it's second best to one other DLC, and we'll get to that. But if I'm honest, I think that this DLC added a lot to the game, and it really showed what they had planned for the DLCs afterwards. Kind of too bad they shot themselves in the foot on the next one, but we'll get to that one in the next video. So, continue being a neon star. Never stop going.